What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I am taking a deep dive into the 2023 Las Vegas Raiders. Almost at Oakland. If you guys are new, would love for you guys to stick around, like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Let's jump right into this. We're going to be breaking down the depth chart, and then we're going to be going into a records prediction. Let's get right into it. Let's waste no time. We're going from skill position to line, then line to skill position for the defense. Starting out with the quarterback, Jimmy G. I'm a little bit worried about his health overall. Dude's just never been healthy consistently, and I'm a little bit worried. He's worked very well with Josh McDaniels, and that's a very big plus. But I just don't know how long he's going to continue having the success of Jimmy G while continuing to get hurt. Because every time you go into that operating room, a piece of you also leaves. And how many more pieces can be taken out before Jimmy G is just below that threshold for wins? I'm genuinely concerned. Also, I don't know if he's going to last the season. Guys behind him, I liked Aiden Connell quite a bit, actually. So, there's some hope there. But then I believe you also have Hoyer. And I just don't know if those guys, especially this year, are going to be ready to make an impact and be able to step in if an injury occurs. I just don't have faith, unfortunately. Josh Jacobs is a monster on a, if I'm not mistaken, he is on a franchise tag deal. So he's going to be up for a contract this year. He's an absolute monster, but you have guys like Zeus White sitting right behind him who've had flashes of their own. And I feel like Josh is going to try to make the most of it because this is a very determinate year on how well he's going to get paid and how everything's going to look. But we'll talk about it soon. I don't have full faith in the offensive line to help him out. Looking at the wide receivers, because no disrespect, I don't really evaluate fullbacks. I just like to leave it there so we both know that there is one. Devontae Adams is arguably the best receiver in the NFL. There is a civil case going on, but the criminal case for him shoving that dude is nullified at the moment. So Devontae Adams, in terms of a player, one of the best, if not the best. Hunter Renfrow needs to get back on the saddle again, get healthy, and we all know what he can definitely bring to the table. Jacoby Myers, he's a really good wide receiver 3, and I think that that's perfectly fine. I'd be a little bit more concerned about the depth of wide receiver on this team. I just don't have the faith in it that I used to. You have a lot of star power, but injuries do happen in the NFL, and it does certainly give me pause before I start going all giddy about your receiving core. Tight end, you got Austin Hooper. Behind him, you have Michael Mayer. I really like Michael Mayer, but I think he works well with Josh McDaniels. I think he'll be fine for you guys. I just don't know if he's going to have that upside that a lot of the people in the community actually thought he had. I was one of those people who was a bit lower on Michael Mayer, so apologies for the lack of enthusiasm. But the fact that y'all moved up and got him, I thought was an excellent move, especially with Austin Hooper, who I have very little faith in. I would have put it as the worst unit if it weren't for Michael Mayer. Just to be honest, you're going from Darren Waller when healthy down to Austin Hooper, and hopefully Michael Mayer can step up and be that true tight end 1. This is based off of our lads, and that's how I'm gonna rock it. I'm gonna parrot what they're saying. So of course, feel free to put your rebuttals down there, like, oh, I like Michael Mayer is gonna be the starter, but until week 1, we honestly don't know. Looking at the offensive line, you got Colton Miller, who I absolutely adore. UCLA first rounder. The thing is, he was looking like a bust for a hot minute, and then just the switch flipped, and I love that. I love a player that can just get right into it and prove everybody wrong. It's a very good story to know because he got his money for it, and he deserves it. Donald Parham, he is still coming into his own in my opinion, but I was a big fan of him. I was a big fan of that pick. Andre James he's all right, nothing special, but the real big weak link is AlexCBarbour. This dude's had 2 starting seasons, and last year was by far his worst. And then now he's scheduled to start. You have Netane Moody behind him, but I don't know. I don't really have much faith right there. Illuminor is a huge surprise to me. I was not a fan of him. And last year, he ended up taking a big step up, and I'm hoping that remains consistent because, again, just like Colton Miller, I am very open to reframing my mindset on how I think of an offensive lineman because they do sometimes have that moment where the switch flips. And I hope that moment came. Thayer Mumford is another really good guy to have as a backup there. 7th round pick from just over a year ago. You have Greg Van Roten as well, could end up stepping in for AlexCBarbour. But overall, I think that one, Jacoby Myers doesn't bring the superstar power, but also just the depth at wide receiver, the star power at tight end until Michael Mayer proves himself, and that big vacancy at guard does give me pause, but it's still a good offense. You still have some good star power there. I'm just a little bit worried overall. Now let's go into the defense. Obviously, you got those crazy DNs, Chris Jones, who extremely inconsistent, sure, backed up by Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby. You can't really get much better in terms of a top three and in terms of that. But, when Tyree is healthy, you have Max Crosby and you have Chandler Jones there to help him. You guys have a formidable front. But Chandler Jones being inconsistent and then Tyree still getting over his foot injury, which is why he did slip to pick number 7. To me, that is going to be a bit of a hit to the cojones. And I don't trust Chandler Jones just yet to have that bounce back. I am one of his guys who stands up for him. I think that I like him more than the majority, but I'm still not going to stick my neck out for him. Jerry Tillery, in my opinion, does not belong starting on a roster that is, and always kind of has been, the big weakness on this team is that defensive interior. Bilal Nichols is solid. I'm not going to get on y'all's ass for having Bilal there. He's had years where he's proven that he's a good player. But Jerry Tillery couldn't stick at defensive tackle on a team that is one of the worst at D tackle overall in the Chargers. And, coming here, didn't really go to a much of a better system. Then you got Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane. I really like Divine Diablo. He still hasn't really put it together. He didn't take a step up last year. In fact, his missed tackle percentage went from 2.2% to 9%. Obviously, it's not a bad rating at all, but I'm not a huge fan of seeing regression from year 1 to year 2, because linebacker is one of those positions that is hard to hit the ground running year 1. So to see someone take a regression step, a little bit worrisome for me. Spillane's just never really been that good. As a Steelers fan, I got to watch him quite a bit, and I was very happy when he was like my linebacker 4. But when he's starting, it's a bit concerning for me for sure. Marcus Epps was a free agent acquisition. My best friend is an Eagles fan, and the amount of times I would just hear about Marcus Epps messing up, man. I don't have faith in Marcus Epps. I didn't like that signing. There's better safeties out there. I like Trevon Merrick, but I definitely am not a huge fan. But then we're looking at the corners here. Nate Hobbs is listed as a nickelback, but I think he's going to start out as a boundary. Not really 100% sure off the top of my head who would start at nickelback in that consideration based on the fact there's a lack of depth. But Duke Shelley had a crazy year last year. The question is, can he repeat it? DB is just such a tough position to remain relevant in. It does scare the living hell out of me. It's a big reason why the record's going to be the way it is. So I'm priming you guys for that. But then you got David Long Jr. I think he's okay. He's nothing special. But I think if Hobbs is on the boundary, corner could be one of the strengths of this team if Duke Shelley stays the same. But again, you got guys like Faison on there, who was a starter on the Colts. You got I didn't even know. I think it's Malcolm. That's not Malcolm Butler. That's for the Patriots back in the day. But I'm forgetting Butler. I remember him. I think he was like a Missouri D tackle. He's a fun guy. Good depth there. Could start over Tillery, but hasn't really done so yet. Malcolm Kuhn's former 3rd-round pick as well. And Neil Farrell Jr. actually was talking about him incorrectly and said that I fell in love with a guy on the Bengals, but actually it was Neil Farrell Jr. who I fell in love with at the Senior Bowl a year or 2 ago. So overall, I can't get behind a team that lacks any form of linebacker help. I don't fully trust the safety core. And, I'm pretty much banking on Duke Shelley having a repeat year. There's Marcus Peters rumors, and that could totally give you another 2 or 3 wins. And I don't think Marcus Peters is that good compared to, what he used to be. But I also think that Marcus Peters is potentially opening the opportunity for Nate Hobbs to move to the nickel, and then you have 3 very talented corners again if Duke Shelley ends up working out again. There's a lot riding on Max Crosby to carry the team again, and the longer he remains relevant, the more teams are going to game plan against him, and then you're going to have to see Chris Jones be more consistent, and then Tyree Wilson be healthy. There's a lot that's riding on this team, and I am genuinely concerned because I think there's a foundational flaw, especially with the consistency issues and the linebackers. So we look at the schedule. Ouch, 4-13. Let me explain. And honestly, I before this gave you guys an extra win because I looked over the roster. I looked back on the guys who had big concerns over, and guys like Illuminor and Shelly who have had 1 year of success. I'm deciding to give them more credit than where credit's due. But y'all have a tough schedule, tough one. Let's break it down. Starting out at Denver, I think you guys are going to take a sneaky dub right there. They're also in a little bit of turmoil right now. New regime, even their wide receivers are potentially getting traded. And there's a lot going on over there in Denver. Just released a video earlier this week, or recorded earlier tonight if you're me. Buffalo's a pain in the ass to go to. Pittsburgh's a damn good roster. It's a game that you could flip to a W for sure, but it's a game where I'm going to be a homer for my Steelers and have some faith. They ended off the year, I think, 9-2, and I think they could carry that momentum into the next year. Los Angeles is a very, very tough team. Pretty sure, I had them sweep you, but that's because they're just such a good team. I also don't believe in the health of this roster. I think Los Angeles is a little bit more in terms of star power and depth. That's the key thing. They're a little bit better all around. I think Green Bay is there's no easy wins. I'll just put it that way. There's no easy wins on this. Green Bay, it really depends on Jordan Love. If he ends up stepping up and being a really good player, we could easily see this be an L. But, Green Bay's a good roster. New England's even a good roster too. But McDaniels, most of Bill Belichick's disciples usually do well against him. Definitely going to be tipping y'all that W. Chicago's a game that you could win. It just, again, depends on Jimmy G's health and the health of the roster. But you are in Chicago. I got to give Chicago some wins there. And the lack of linebacker talent is scary when you have someone like Justin Fields who loves to scramble. That's going to be a lot of open field that you're going to pretty much rely on Divine Diablo and Robert Spillane to be able to cover. Detroit, it's another team that, they're damn good. It's just I had them being Super Bowl competitors if they hit the draft right, and they hit it so close to right and just completely missed. They missed the two key things that they really needed to go after, and that's a starting wide receiver as well as a starting boundary defensive back, because I don't think Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton are necessarily going to be the biggest formidable force. So that could be a game you guys do win. That's another game I think you could flip. So Pittsburgh and Detroit. New York's another game that you guys could win. Again, these are very close games. You just got to do a judgment call, and unfortunately, you guys are on the sour end of the judgment call. Then you got New York, Miami, and Kansas City, like 3 Super Bowl competitors. Are you freaking kidding me? So I apologize for the fact that y'all have to endure that, but you come off the bye week. Minnesota is as well, but I'm going to give you guys some love there and show a W, because I do think, even though Minnesota is good, Alexander Madison does scare me, and the fact there's no mobility with the quarterback / high upside with the running back, I think that mitigates the issue or lowers the danger, the risk of having a weaker linebacking core. Then you have Los Angeles, Kansas City. You have 2 Super Bowl competitors in your division. Naturally, you're probably going to lose all 4 to them. You could get 1 win here, 1 win there. But, it's going to be very tough for that. Denver as well is a champion level team when, healthy and actually playing the way they should. Indy is a game where you could flip it for sure, but I have a lot of faith in Indy at that point. Again, they have a really good running quarterback, in my opinion. I love Anthony Richardson. And they have a really good running back. That's really tough. That's really tough to take a W against, So overall, you guys do end up 4-13, the bottom of the AFC. But you know what? That puts you in a prime position to get Caleb Williams, probably not 4th overall, but potentially Drake May. You could potentially trade back, take Joe Milton. There's a lot of options if you do end up at that ranking, to where you could totally retool and have a huge bounce back when, Tyree Wilson's extremely healthy. Chandler Jones is probably back in that retirement mode, or maybe taking a big step back behind Tyree Wilson. You guys just have a path to the future, and I think this is a very good way to start it off, because being 8-9, 9-8 is just as bad for multiple years as taking a 4-13 1 year and then going maybe 6 and now I'm forgetting 6-11 the next, and then all of a sudden you guys could be ending up at 13-4, just because the NFL is that close. Where there's a lot of these games where I had to do a coin toss, but once you beat that threshold, you can start winning more of those coin tosses, and then all of a sudden you guys do have 13-4 record because you have a quarterback, You have a solid O-line. You have a good seasoned defense. There's a lot to love here, but it really does depend on a couple key factors, and that's health. That's whether, Alex Bars is as crap as he normally is, but also if Duke Shelley is going to be the same dude. If he's crap, this record very well might be a very, very, very positive and very optimistic outlook. But that's going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys on the far side. Peace.